There is a moment that changes everything. It happens when you realize that your emotions have been running your life, making your decisions, controlling your reactions, dictating your future, and the worst part, you never even knew it was happening. Think about the last time you exploded in anger and regretted it 5 minutes later. Think about the anxiety that kept you from taking an opportunity that could have changed everything. Think about the fear that made you stay silent when you should have spoken up. Think about the sadness that paralyzed you for days when you needed to move forward. Those weren't just feelings. Those were hijackings. Your emotional brain took control, and your rational mind became a passenger, watching helplessly as you crashed into yet another mistake. Another regret, another missed opportunity. Most people live their entire lives this way. They wake up to anxiety. They react with anger. They make decisions based on fear. They sabotage relationships because they cannot control what they feel. And they call this being human. They call this being authentic. They call this being real. But let me tell you what it actually is. It is being controlled. It is being weak. It is being a slave to chemical reactions in your brain that were designed for a world that no longer exists. Your emotions are not your identity. Your emotions are signals. And right now, you are letting the signals drive the car while you sit in the back seat, hoping you survive the journey. But here is the truth that will set you free. You can master your emotions. You can learn to feel without being controlled. You can experience anger without destroying. You can feel fear without freezing. You can acknowledge sadness without drowning. You can have anxiety without paralysis. This is not about becoming emotionless. This is not about suppression or denial. This is about mastery. This is about taking back control of your life by understanding the most powerful force inside you. In the next 90 minutes, you will learn exactly how to do this. You will understand why your emotions hijack you and how to stop it. You will discover the neurological patterns that trap you and how to rewire them. You will learn practical techniques that work in real time when your emotions are screaming at you to lose control. You will discover how to create a gap between what you feel and how you respond. And in that gap lives your power. In that gap lives your future. In that gap lives the person you were always meant to become. By the time we finish this journey, you will never be the same. You will look at your emotions differently. You will respond to triggers differently. You will make decisions differently. You will live differently. Because when you master your emotions, you master your life. Everything changes when you are no longer controlled by feelings that come and go like weather. Your relationships improve. Your career accelerates. Your confidence becomes unshakable. Your peace becomes permanent. The person you are about to become is waiting on the other side of this knowledge. Someone who feels deeply but thinks clearly. Someone who acknowledges emotions but is not controlled by them. Someone who has turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. This starts now. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Not when life calms down. Now. Because every moment you wait is another moment your emotions are writing your story. And it is time for you to take back the pen. Let's begin. Shape tronthejkng. You need to understand what is actually happening when your emotions take control. Because you cannot fight an enemy you do not understand. And your uncontrolled emotions are the enemy of your future. Your brain has two major systems: the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex. The limbic system is ancient. It developed millions of years ago, when humans lived in a world of immediate physical threats. When seeing a predator meant you had seconds to decide whether to fight or run. This system is fast. It is automatic. It is emotional. The prefrontal cortex is new. It developed recently in evolutionary terms. This is where you think, plan, analyze, and make rational decisions. This is where your future lives. This is where wisdom exists. But it is slow. It needs time to process information and make thoughtful choices. Here is the problem. When you get triggered, your limbic system activates instantly. It floods your body with stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes. Your blood pressure rises. And here is the critical part. Blood flow actually decreases to your prefrontal cortex. You literally cannot think clearly when you are emotionally hijacked. The part of your brain that makes good decisions goes offline. The part that remembers consequences shuts down. The part that considers the future stops working. This is why you say things you regret. This is why you make impulsive decisions that destroy months of progress. This is why you react in ways that damage relationships you spent years building. Your emotional brain is driving, and your rational brain is locked in the trunk. Let me give you a real example. You are in a meeting at work. Your colleague challenges your idea in front of everyone. Immediately, your limbic system interprets this as a threat. Not a physical threat, but a threat to your status, your reputation, your ego. Within milliseconds, before you even consciously register what is happening, your body is flooded with stress hormones. Your face gets hot. Your heart pounds. Your muscles tense. And your prefrontal cortex, the part that could help you respond professionally and strategically, has just lost most of its blood supply. So what happens? You defend yourself with an edge in your voice. You get defensive. You make the situation worse. And 10 minutes later, when the chemicals start to clear, you think, why did I react that way? That was stupid. But by then, the damage is done. Or think about a fight with your partner. They say something that hits a nerve. Maybe it reminds you of past hurts. Maybe it touches an insecurity. Instantly, your emotional brain activates. And instead of staying calm and working toward a solution, you escalate. You bring up old issues. You say things designed to hurt them because you are hurting. And 20 minutes later, you have turned a small disagreement into a relationship crisis. All because your emotional brain hijacked the situation and your rational brain could not stop it. This happens every single day, in small ways and big ways. Every time you check your phone compulsively because anxiety tells you to. Every time you avoid a difficult conversation because fear is in control. Every time you quit on a goal because frustration is driving. But here is what you must understand. This hijacking is not permanent. It is not who you are. It is a pattern. And patterns can be changed. Neural pathways can be rewired. Automatic reactions can be interrupted. The first step to mastering your emotions is recognizing the hijacking when it happens. Learning to spot the moment when your emotional brain is trying to take control. Feeling the physical sensations that signal the takeover. The racing heart, the tight chest, the hot face, the tense muscles. These are not just feelings. These are warnings. Your body is telling you that your emotional brain is about to make a decision that your rational brain will regret. And once you learn to recognize these signals, you have a choice. You can let the hijacking happen, or you can interrupt it. Most people never learn this. They live their entire lives being hijacked multiple times every day, reacting instead of responding, being controlled instead of being in control. And then they wonder why their lives never change, why they keep making the same mistakes, why they cannot break destructive patterns. You are different. You are here because you are ready to change this. You are ready to recognize the hijacking. You are ready to take back control. You are ready to become someone who feels emotions, but is not controlled by them. The hijacking has been running your life. But starting today, you learn to interrupt it. You learn to create space between the trigger and your response. You learn to feel the emotion without letting it make your decisions. This is where your transformation begins. This is where you stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming their master. Chiatrtwo. Sakodral. There is a gap, a small window of opportunity between the moment you get triggered and the moment you react. Most people never even know this gap exists. But once you learn to find it, everything changes. Scientists call this the response window, and it lasts approximately 3 seconds. 3 seconds where your prefrontal cortex still has a chance to engage before your emotional brain completely takes over. 3 seconds where you can choose your response instead of being controlled by your reaction. 3 seconds might not sound like much, but it is enough. It is enough to change the trajectory of a conversation, enough to save a relationship, enough to protect your career, enough to keep you moving toward your goals instead of sabotaging them. The 3-second rule is simple. When you feel triggered, you pause for 3 seconds before you respond. 3 seconds to let your rational brain catch up to your emotional brain. 3 seconds to choose wisdom over impulse. 3 seconds to remember who you want to be instead of becoming who your emotions are screaming at you to be. But here is the challenge. Those 3 seconds will feel like an eternity when your emotions are raging. Your emotional brain will be screaming at you to react now, to defend yourself now, to attack now, to run now. Every instinct will be telling you that waiting is weakness, that pausing is losing, that hesitation is surrender. Pausing is power. The ability to feel intense emotion and still choose your response is the highest form of strength. This is what separates people who control their lives from people whose lives control them. Here is how you practice the 3-second rule. Start with low-stakes situations. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Your first instinct is to get angry, maybe honk, maybe yell. Instead, take 3 seconds. Count them. 1, 2, 3. Feel the anger. Acknowledge it. But do not act on it. Your colleague makes a passive-aggressive comment. Your first instinct is to fire back. Instead, 3 seconds. Breathe. Feel the irritation. Notice it. But do not react. Let the 3 seconds pass. Then choose your response. You get a text message that frustrates you. Your fingers want to type an immediate angry response. Stop. 3 seconds. Feel the frustration. Notice where it sits in your body. But do not send that message yet. Let 3 seconds pass. Then read what you were about to send. Often, you will be grateful you waited. At first, 3 seconds will feel impossible. Your emotional brain is used to having instant control. It has been driving for years, maybe decades. It is not going to give up easily. You will feel the pressure to react. The urge will be overwhelming. But here is what happens when you practice this. Every time you successfully pause for 3 seconds, you are building a new neural pathway. You are training your brain that there is another option besides immediate reaction. You are creating space between stimulus and response. And in that space, your power grows. After practicing with low-stakes situations, you move to higher stakes. A difficult conversation with your boss. 3 seconds before you respond to criticism. A conflict with your partner. 3 seconds before you escalate. A moment of intense fear about your future. 3 seconds before you let panic make your decisions. The 3-second rule works because it gives your prefrontal cortex just enough time to come back online. Remember, when you get triggered, blood flow to your rational brain decreases. But it does not disappear instantly. And it starts returning quickly if you can just pause. 3 seconds allows some of that blood flow to return. It allows rational thought to begin engaging. It creates the possibility of a response instead of a reaction. It opens the door to wisdom instead of impulse. Think about the last major mistake you made due to emotional reaction. An argument that damaged a relationship. An impulsive decision that cost you money. A moment of anger that hurt your career. Now imagine if you had paused for 3 seconds. Just 3 seconds. Would the outcome have been different? The answer is almost certainly yes. Because in 3 seconds, you would have remembered consequences. You would have considered the future. You would have accessed wisdom instead of just reacting from pain or fear or anger. This is not about becoming slow or hesitant. This is not about overthinking every interaction. This is about having the strength to pause when it matters. When your emotions are intense, and the stakes are high, and your future hangs in the balance. The 3-second rule is your first line of defense against emotional hijacking. It is the tool that interrupts the pattern. It is the practice that builds emotional mastery. 3 seconds. That is all it takes. 3 seconds to change everything. Start using this today, right now. The next time you feel triggered, pause. Count to 3. Feel the emotion, then choose your response. Do this 10 times, and you will start to feel the difference. Do this 100 times, and it becomes automatic. Do this 1,000 times, and you become someone who cannot be controlled by emotions. 3 seconds. The gap between who you are and who you are becoming. Use it. You cannot defuse a bomb if you do not know where the bombs are planted. And your emotional triggers are bombs waiting to explode. Scattered throughout your life. Hidden in conversations and situations and memories. Just waiting for someone to step on them. Most people have no idea what their real triggers are. They think they get angry because someone disrespected them. They think they get anxious because life is stressful. They think they get sad because circumstances are difficult. But these are just surface explanations. The real triggers go much deeper. Your triggers are not about what is happening now. Your triggers are about what happened before. They are emotional memories. Neural patterns formed during past experiences, especially painful ones. And they are sitting in your brain like landmines, ready to detonate at the slightest provocation. Here is how triggers actually work. Something happens in your present that resembles something from your past. Maybe it is similar in obvious ways. Maybe the resemblance is subtle, even unconscious. But your emotional brain recognizes the pattern, and instantly, it activates the same emotional response you had during the original experience. This is why reactions often feel disproportionate to the situation. Your partner forgets to call you back, and you feel devastated. Not because failing to return a call is actually devastating, but because somewhere in your past, being forgotten meant something terrible. Being ignored meant abandonment. Not being responded to meant you did not matter. Or someone criticizes your work, and you feel rage. Not because criticism is actually enraging, but because past criticism was tied to shame, to feeling worthless, to being told you would never be good enough. Your emotional brain does not distinguish between past criticism and present feedback. It just knows criticism equals danger, so it floods you with defensive anger. Understanding your triggers requires brutal honesty. You have to be willing to look at the patterns, to notice what consistently makes you reactive, to trace that reaction back to its roots. This is uncomfortable work, because it means acknowledging that your reactions today are often about yesterday's pain. Start by identifying your most common emotional reactions. Do you get defensive easily? Do you shut down when faced with conflict? Do you become people-pleasing when you sense disapproval? Do you get anxious about being alone? Do you panic when plans change? Now ask yourself, when did I first feel this way? What is the earliest memory I have of this emotion? What happened that taught me to react this way? Often, you will find the roots in childhood. A parent who was unpredictable, teaching you to be hypervigilant. A situation where you were powerless, teaching you to control everything now. A time you were rejected, teaching you to people-please to avoid it happening again. But sometimes the trigger is more recent. A bad relationship that ended in betrayal, making you suspicious in your current relationship. A job you lost unexpectedly, making you anxious about job security now. A failure that crushed you, making you avoid risk today. The point is not to blame your past. The point is to understand it. Because when you understand the real source of your triggers, you can stop being controlled by them. You can recognize when your emotional brain is reacting to a memory instead of to reality. Here is a powerful exercise. Make a list of your top 5 emotional triggers, the situations that consistently make you reactive. For each one, complete this sentence. When this happens, I feel threatened because. Be specific. Go deep. Do not accept surface answers. For example, when someone criticizes me, I feel threatened because it reminds me of never being good enough for my father. Because it triggers the shame I felt as a child when I could not meet impossible standards. Because it makes me feel like that worthless kid again, even though I am a successful adult now. This level of awareness changes everything. Because now when someone criticizes you, part of your brain can say, wait, this is not really about this criticism. This is about an old wound. This person is not my father. This feedback is not about my worth as a human. This is just information I can use or discard. Understanding your triggers also helps you communicate better. Instead of exploding and then feeling guilty, you can say, when you do that, it triggers something in me. It is not really about what just happened. It is about past pain. I need a moment to separate the two. This is mature emotional intelligence. This is taking responsibility for your inner world, instead of blaming everyone else for triggering you. Because here is the hard truth. Other people will trigger you. Life will trigger you. But whether you get hijacked is your responsibility. Your triggers are not going away. The goal is not to eliminate them. The goal is to know them so well that they cannot control you. To see them coming before they detonate. To recognize the emotional reaction as a pattern from the past, not an accurate response to the present. When you understand your triggers, you stop being a victim of them. You stop wondering why you keep reacting the same way in different situations. You stop feeling helpless when emotions overwhelm you. You start seeing the patterns. And patterns that are seen can be changed. Map your triggers. Know them, name them. Understand where they came from. And then you can finally diffuse them before they blow up your life. Shiepti for you are. Tichi stop meti chode. Now you understand the hijacking. You know about the 3-second rule. You have identified your triggers. It is time for a practical tool you can use in real time when your emotions are trying to take control. It is called the STOP method, and it works. STOP is an acronym. Each letter represents a step in the process of interrupting emotional hijacking and choosing a conscious response. This is not theory. This is a practical technique you can use today. Right now. In the middle of emotional chaos. S stands for stop. Physically stop whatever you are doing. If you are about to send that angry text, stop. Put the phone down. If you are about to yell at your kids, stop. Close your mouth. If you are about to storm out of a meeting, stop. Stay in your seat. The physical act of stopping interrupts the automatic reaction pattern. This sounds simple, but it requires immense strength. Because your emotional brain is screaming at you to act now. Your body is flooded with chemicals telling you to react. Every instinct is saying move, speak, do something. And you have to override all of that with one word. Stop. T stands for take a breath. Not just any breath. A specific breath. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 4. Breathe out slowly through your mouth for a count of 6. This is called physiological regulation. And it is backed by neuroscience. When you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the system that calms you down. It counteracts the stress response. It tells your body that you are safe, that there is no emergency, that your prefrontal cortex can come back online. One breath might not be enough. If you are really triggered, do this breath pattern 3 or 4 times. Feel your heart rate start to slow. Feel the tension begin to release. This is not just relaxation. This is neurological intervention. You are hacking your own biology to regain control. O stands for observe. Now that you have stopped and breathed, observe what is actually happening. Not what your emotions are telling you is happening. What is actually happening? Observe the situation objectively. Observe your physical sensations. Observe your thoughts. Observe your emotions without judging them. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? What story is my mind telling me about this situation? What am I afraid will happen if I do not react? What trigger is being activated? This observation creates distance. You are no longer fused with the emotion. You are watching it. You are noticing it. And when you can observe something, you have power over it. The emotion is no longer you. It is something you are experiencing. There is a difference, a crucial difference. P stands for proceed. Now you can choose your response, not from emotion, from wisdom, from strategy, from your highest self. Ask yourself, what response aligns with who I want to be? What response moves me toward my goals instead of away from them? What response will I be proud of tomorrow? Then act from that place. Maybe your response is to speak calmly even though you feel angry. Maybe your response is to walk away even though your ego wants to fight. Maybe your response is to ask a question even though your fear wants to run. Whatever you choose, you are choosing it consciously. You are proceeding from power, not from panic. Let me show you this in action. Your boss criticizes you harshly in front of the team. Your emotional brain wants to defend yourself immediately. Maybe argue, maybe shut down, maybe quit on the spot. But you use the stop method. Stop. You literally stop yourself from speaking. You keep your mouth closed even though words are bubbling up. Take a breath. 4 counts in, hold 4. 6 counts out. You do this twice. You feel your body start to settle. Observe. You notice the heat in your face, the tightness in your chest, the thoughts racing. This is unfair. Everyone is judging me. I look weak. You notice these are just thoughts and sensations, not facts, not commands. Proceed. You choose to say, I hear your feedback. Let me think about this, and I will come back to you with a plan to address these concerns. You say it calmly, not because you feel calm, but because you chose calm. You proceeded from wisdom, not from wounded ego. That is mastery. That is emotional intelligence. That is the stop method working. Or imagine you are fighting with your partner. They say something that hits your biggest trigger. Your emotional brain wants to escalate, to bring up past issues, to hurt them back. But you remember stop. Stop. You pause mid-sentence. You do not say the cutting thing you were about to say. Take a breath. 4 in. Hold. 6 out. 3 times. The rage is still there, but it is not controlling you now. Observe. You notice your trigger was activated. You notice this feels like old pain, not just about this moment. You notice you want to hurt them because you are hurt. Proceed. You choose to say, I need a 5-minute break. This triggered something deep in me, and I need to separate that from what is happening right now. Can we pause? You give yourself space. You proceed from self-awareness, not from reactivity. The stop method takes practice. The first few times you try it, you might only remember after you already reacted. That is okay. Awareness after the fact is still progress. Next time you might remember during the reaction. Eventually you will remember before the reaction. And that is when everything changes. Use this method 10 times a day for small triggers. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Stop method. Your phone dies at a bad time. Stop method. You get frustrated with slow internet. Stop method. Build the habit with low-stakes situations, so it is automatic when high-stakes situations arrive. Stop is not about being perfect. It is about having a tool. A reliable process you can use when chaos is trying to control you. It is your lifeline back to rational thought when emotions are pulling you under. Practice this today. Right now. Think of something that recently triggered you. Walk through the stop method in your mind. Stop. Breathe. Observe. Proceed. Feel how different the outcome would have been. Now use it the next time you get triggered in real life. This method works, but only if you use it. Knowing about stop does nothing. Practicing stop changes everything. Sage tier 5e. Refer amng ur enterel nera ativ. Your emotions do not come from what happens to you. They come from what you tell yourself about what happens to you. This is the key to emotional mastery that most people never understand. You create your own emotional experience through the stories you tell yourself about reality. Two people can experience the exact same event and feel completely different emotions. One person gets laid off and feels devastated, like their life is over. Another person gets laid off and feels relieved, like they just got freed from a job they hated. Same event, different story, different emotion. The story you tell yourself about any situation determines how you feel about it. And here is the powerful part. You can change the story. You can reframe the narrative. And when you change the story, you change the emotion. This is not about toxic positivity. This is not about pretending everything is great when it is not. This is about recognizing that your interpretation of events is just that. An interpretation, not objective truth. And you have more control over your interpretation than you think. Your brain is constantly narrating your experience, constantly creating meaning from what happens. And most of that narration is automatic. It happens so fast you do not even notice. Something happens. Your brain instantly assigns meaning. And that meaning triggers emotion. Someone does not respond to your text. Your brain might say, "They are ignoring me. They do not care about me. I am not important to them." Emotion, hurt, rejection, anxiety. But what if you reframed it? They are probably busy. This is not about me. They will respond when they can. Emotion, neutral, patient, calm. Same situation. Different story. Different emotional outcome. Here is the framework for reframing. When you notice an intense emotion, pause and ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? Often you will discover you are making assumptions. You are mind reading. You are fortune telling. You are catastrophizing. You are personalizing something that is not personal. Mind reading is when you assume you know what someone else is thinking or feeling. They think I am stupid. She is judging me. He does not respect me. You cannot actually know this unless they tell you. But your brain fills in the blanks with negative assumptions. And those assumptions trigger emotions. Fortune telling is when you predict the future negatively. This is going to be a disaster. I am going to fail. Nothing good ever happens to me. You do not know the future. But you tell yourself a negative story about it, and then feel the emotions, as if that story is already true. Catastrophizing is when you blow things out of proportion. This is the worst thing that could happen. My life is ruined. Everything is falling apart. Usually the situation is difficult, but not catastrophic. Your story makes it catastrophic, and then you feel catastrophic emotions. Personalizing is when you make everything about you. Someone is in a bad mood, and you assume it is because of something you did. Someone does not invite you to something, and you assume it is because they do not like you. Most things that happen around you have nothing to do with you. But your brain makes it personal. And personal stories trigger strong emotions. Once you identify the story you are telling yourself, you can challenge it. Ask, is this story true? What evidence do I have that this is accurate? What other explanations are possible? If my best friend told me this story, what would I say to them? Then consciously create a more accurate story, not a fake positive story, a realistic, balanced story, instead of, they are ignoring me because they do not care. Try, they have not responded yet. I do not know why. There are many possible reasons that have nothing to do with how they feel about me. Instead of, this presentation is going to be a disaster. Try, this presentation is challenging. I am prepared. I might make mistakes. That is normal. I will do my best and learn from the experience. Instead of, my life is ruined because I did not get that job. Try, I am disappointed I did not get that job. This is a setback. Setbacks are part of life. There will be other opportunities. This does not define my future. Notice how different the emotion is with the reframed story. Still acknowledging the difficulty. Still being honest. But not catastrophizing, not personalizing. Not making assumptions that trigger unnecessary emotional pain. This takes practice. Your brain has spent years, maybe decades, creating automatic negative narratives. You are not going to change that overnight. But every time you catch a distorted story and reframe it, you are building new neural pathways. You are training your brain to interpret events more accurately, more wisely, more calmly. Start paying attention to your internal narrative today. When you feel a strong emotion, pause and ask, what story am I telling myself right now? Write it down if you can. Look at it objectively. Is it true? Is it helping? Is it accurate? Or is it a distortion that is making you suffer unnecessarily? Then create a reframe. A more balanced story. A story that acknowledges reality without catastrophizing it. A story that considers multiple perspectives instead of jumping to the worst conclusion. A story that serves your well-being instead of destroying it. Your emotions follow your story. Change the story and you change the emotions. This is not manipulation. This is accuracy. This is wisdom. This is seeing reality clearly instead of through the distorted lens of fear and assumption. You are the narrator of your life, and you have more power over that narration than you ever realized. Use that power. Reframe the stories that are causing you unnecessary pain, and watch how your emotional experience transforms. Chapter 6. Buildeurai. You cannot control what you cannot name. And most people do not have the vocabulary to accurately name what they are feeling. They know they feel bad. But they do not know if that bad is anxiety, frustration, disappointment, resentment, or shame. And that lack of precision keeps them trapped. When you can accurately identify your emotion, you gain power over it. Research shows that the simple act of labeling an emotion reduces its intensity. Neuroscientists call this effect labeling. And it works because naming an emotion engages your prefrontal cortex, the rational thinking part of your brain. When your prefrontal cortex is active, your amygdala, the emotional reactive part, calms down. Most people operate with a very limited emotional vocabulary. Happy, sad, angry, anxious. That is about it. But emotions are far more nuanced than that. And when you collapse all negative emotions into one or two categories, you cannot respond to them effectively. Let me give you an example. You feel bad after a conversation with a friend. If you just label it as, I feel bad, or I am sad, you are stuck. You do not know what to do with that. But if you can identify the specific emotion, everything changes. Are you disappointed because they did not show interest in something important to you? Are you hurt because they said something insensitive? Are you frustrated because they keep making the same mistake? Are you resentful because you always support them, but do not feel supported back? Are you envious because they shared good news, and it highlighted what you do not have? Each of these emotions requires a different response. Disappointment might need you to adjust your expectations. Hurt might need you to communicate your feelings. Frustration might need you to set a boundary. Resentment might need you to stop overgiving. Envy might need you to reconnect with your own goals. But if you just label it all as, "I feel bad," you cannot take effective action. You just stay stuck in the vague discomfort. Here is how you build emotional vocabulary. Start learning the names of specific emotions. There are hundreds of them: annoyed, discouraged, overwhelmed, insecure, lonely, guilty, ashamed, embarrassed, betrayed, confused, irritated, dismayed, apprehensive. Each word describes a slightly different emotional state. When you feel something, get specific. Do not settle for, "I am angry." Dig deeper. Am I enraged? Am I resentful? Am I indignant? These are all different flavors of anger, and each one gives you different information about what is happening and what you need. Irritation often means a minor annoyance that can be addressed with a simple boundary. Rage means something significant has been violated, and you might need to remove yourself from the situation. Resentment means you have been overgiving and need to rebalance. Indignation means an injustice has occurred, and you might need to take action. Same with anxiety. Are you nervous? Are you worried? Are you panicked? Are you apprehensive? Are you uneasy? Each of these tells you something different about the level and type of threat your brain perceives. Nervous might mean you care about an outcome. Worried might mean you are focusing on hypothetical futures. Panicked might mean your body is in full stress response and needs immediate calming. Apprehensive might mean you are uncertain and need more information. The more precisely you can name what you feel, the more power you have, because precision gives you clarity, and clarity allows for appropriate response. Practice this every day. When you notice an emotion, do not just acknowledge, "I feel something." Ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling right now? Get specific. Use a feelings wheel if you need to. These are charts that show the nuanced range of human emotions. Find the precise word for your experience. Then, take it a step further. Ask, why am I feeling this specific emotion? What triggered it? What need is not being met? What value is being violated? What fear is being activated? This level of emotional intelligence transforms your relationship with your inner world. For example, I am feeling resentful toward my partner. Why? Because I have been doing most of the household work while also working full-time, and I feel taken advantage of. What need is not being met? My need for fairness and reciprocity. What do I need to do? Communicate this clearly and request a more equitable distribution of labor. That is mastery. That is using emotional vocabulary to understand yourself and take effective action. Compare that to just feeling bad or stressed and having no idea what to do about it. Your emotions are information. They are signals telling you something about your internal state, your needs, your boundaries, your values. But if you do not have the language to decode those signals, you cannot use them effectively. You are stuck with vague discomfort that you try to avoid or suppress. Build your emotional vocabulary starting today. Learn new emotion words. Use them. Practice getting specific about what you feel. Stop settling for vague labels. Demand precision from yourself. When you can name it, you can claim it. When you can claim it, you can work with it. When you can work with it, you can master it. Your emotions are no longer mysterious forces that control you. They become information you can use to navigate your life with wisdom. This is not just about feeling better. This is about emotional intelligence. This is about self-awareness. This is about taking responsibility for your inner world by understanding it clearly. Start now. What are you feeling right this moment? Get specific. Name it. Claim it. And feel the power that comes from that precision. Emotivo uno bondres. Emotional boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They let through what serves you and keep out what harms you. Most people do not have emotional boundaries. They let everyone's emotions, opinions, and energy affect their own inner state. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, overwhelmed, and constantly off balance. You cannot control what other people feel. You cannot control what they say or do. But you absolutely can control how much of that you absorb. You can decide what you allow into your emotional space. This is not coldness. This is self-preservation. This is wisdom. Without boundaries, you become a sponge. You soak up everyone's stress, anxiety, anger, and fear. Your coworker is stressed, and suddenly you are stressed. Your friend is dramatic, and suddenly you are in crisis mode. Your family member is negative, and suddenly you are drained. You are living at the mercy of everyone else's emotional state. This is exhausting. This is why you feel depleted at the end of the day, even when you did not do anything particularly difficult. You have been carrying everyone else's emotional weight. You have been letting other people's internal chaos become your internal chaos. Emotional boundaries start with a simple recognition. Other people's emotions are not your responsibility. You can care about someone without carrying their emotions. You can support someone without absorbing their pain. You can be empathetic without being enmeshed. There is a difference between empathy and emotional contagion. Empathy is understanding and caring about what someone feels, while maintaining your own emotional center. Emotional contagion is catching their emotional state, like a virus, and losing your own center in the process. Here is how you know if you have poor emotional boundaries. Do you feel anxious when people around you are anxious, even when you have nothing to be anxious about? Do you feel guilty when someone else is upset, even when you did nothing wrong? Do you feel responsible for fixing other people's feelings? Do you avoid certain people because their emotional energy drains you? These are all signs of weak or non-existent boundaries, and they are costing you your peace, your energy, and your emotional stability. Building boundaries starts with awareness. Notice when you are taking on emotions that are not yours. You walk into a room, and someone is in a bad mood. Within minutes, you feel bad too. Stop. Ask yourself, is this my emotion or am I absorbing theirs? Often you will realize the feeling is not coming from your own experience. It is coming from your lack of boundary. Once you notice this, you can create the boundary. Mentally tell yourself, Their mood is their mood. I can care about them without taking on their emotional state. I am separate. My peace is mine to protect. This might sound selfish. It is not. Healthy boundaries do not mean you stop caring. They mean you stop drowning. You cannot help anyone if you are emotionally flooded. You cannot be supportive if you have absorbed their chaos, and now you are in chaos too. Boundaries make you more effective, not less. Let me give you practical examples. Your partner comes home in a terrible mood. They are short with you, irritated about everything. Your instinct is to think you did something wrong, to get defensive, to try to fix their mood. This is boundary violation. Their mood is not about you, and fixing it is not your job. Instead, I see you are having a rough day. I am here if you want to talk. But I am not going to absorb your frustration. Your mood is yours to manage. You can say this kindly, but you say it, and you mean it. You create space for their feelings without making their feelings your problem. Or your friend calls in crisis for the third time this week. Same issue, same drama, different details. You are exhausted. But you feel guilty setting a boundary because they need you. Do they? Or do they need to learn to manage their own emotions instead of using you as an emotional dumpster? Boundary. I care about you. I can listen for 10 minutes. But then I need to go. And I think you might benefit from talking to a therapist about this pattern. You are still supportive. But you are not sacrificing your own well-being on the altar of their dysfunction. Boundaries also mean you stop explaining yourself to people who are determined to misunderstand you. Someone gets upset at something you said or did. You try to explain. They reject your explanation. You try again. They are still upset. You keep trying. This is boundary violation. You do not need everyone to understand you. You do not need everyone to approve of you. You do not need everyone to agree with you. You can state your truth once, clearly and kindly, and then you can let them have their reaction. Their reaction is not your responsibility. I understand you are upset. I have explained my perspective. I am not going to keep defending myself. You can feel how you feel about it. Then you stop engaging. You protect your energy. You refuse to be held hostage by someone else's emotional manipulation. Setting boundaries will feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you have been boundary-less your whole life. People might accuse you of being cold, of not caring, of changing. Let them. Their discomfort with your boundaries is not your problem. That is their boundary issue, not yours. Strong boundaries actually create healthier relationships. When you are not enmeshed, you can be genuinely present. When you are not resentful from overgiving, you can give freely. When you are not exhausted from emotional contagion, you have energy to actually support people in meaningful ways. Start practicing boundaries today. Notice when you are taking on someone else's emotion. Create space. Remind yourself, their feelings are theirs. I can care without carrying. I can support without absorbing. I protect my peace not from coldness, but from wisdom. Emotional boundaries are not about building walls. They are about building strength. The strength to stay centered when others are in chaos. The strength to care without drowning. The strength to be compassionate without being consumed. This is mastery. This is self-respect. This is choosing to take responsibility for your own emotional state, instead of being a victim of everyone else's. Your emotional energy is precious. Protect it, guard it, use it wisely. You do not owe anyone unlimited access to your inner peace. Create boundaries. Enforce them. And watch how your life transforms when you stop carrying the weight of everyone else's emotions. Hijacked. T power of obipil assassin fee. Here is a paradox that will change your life. The fastest way to reduce the intensity of an emotion is to stop trying to make it go away. The more you resist what you feel, the stronger it becomes. What you resist persists. What you accept loses its power over you. Most people spend enormous energy trying to avoid, suppress, or escape difficult emotions. They distract themselves. They numb themselves. They pretend they are fine. They busy themselves. They rationalize. They deny. And the emotions just grow stronger beneath the surface, waiting, building pressure, until they explode. You cannot outrun your emotions. You cannot think them away. You cannot suppress them permanently. The only way through them is through them. And that requires acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation. Acceptance is not approval. Acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is acknowledging reality as it is, not as you wish it were. It is saying, this is what I am feeling right now. I do not have to like it, but I acknowledge it. It is here. When you accept an emotion, you stop fighting it. And when you stop fighting it, you stop feeding it with resistance energy. The emotion can then move through you naturally, because emotions, when they are allowed to exist, are temporary. They rise, they peak, they fall, like waves. But when you resist them, you trap them. You hold them in place by constantly pushing against them. Think about anxiety. When you feel anxious and immediately try to make the anxiety go away, what happens? You get anxious about being anxious. Now you have two layers of suffering. The original anxiety plus the anxiety about having anxiety. You have created a feedback loop. But when you accept anxiety, something different happens. I am feeling anxious right now. This is uncomfortable. But it is just anxiety. It is not dangerous. It will pass. You stop fighting it. You let it be there. And usually within a few minutes, the intensity starts to decrease. Because you are not feeding it with resistance. The same applies to sadness, anger, fear, disappointment, shame. All emotions. When you try to push them away, they get louder. When you accept them, they settle. Here is how you practice acceptance. When you feel a difficult emotion, instead of immediately trying to fix it or escape it, pause. Say to yourself, this is what I am feeling. I acknowledge it. It is okay to feel this. Then locate where you feel it in your body. Is it tightness in your chest? Is it heaviness in your stomach? Is it tension in your shoulders? Focus on the physical sensation. Not the story about why you are feeling this way. Not the thoughts racing through your head. Just the sensation itself. Breathe into it. Make space for it. Say, it is okay for this sensation to be here. I do not have to like it. But I can allow it. This is radical acceptance. You are not trying to change the emotion. You are not trying to understand it or justify it or fix it. You are simply allowing it to exist. And in that allowing, you take away its power to control you. When you stop being afraid of your emotions, they stop controlling your life. Think about all the decisions you have made from fear of feeling something. You stayed in a bad relationship because you were afraid of feeling lonely. You avoided a difficult conversation because you were afraid of feeling uncomfortable. You did not pursue a dream because you were afraid of feeling like a failure. Your fear of emotions has been running your life. But when you develop the ability to accept any emotion, to let it be there without being destroyed by it, suddenly you become free. You can have the difficult conversation. You can end the relationship that is not serving you. You can pursue the dream, because you know you can handle whatever you feel as a result. Acceptance also means accepting that some emotions do not have simple solutions. Sometimes you are just sad. There is no fix, no positive reframe that makes it disappear. You are sad, and that is okay. Sadness is part of being human. You can be sad and still functional. You can be sad and still show up. You can be sad and still move forward. Sometimes you are afraid, even when there is no real danger. Even when rationally you know there is nothing to fear. The fear is still there, and that is okay. You can be afraid and still act. You can be afraid and still be brave. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is accepting the fear and doing what matters anyway. Many people think emotional mastery means never feeling negative emotions. That is not mastery. That is suppression. Real mastery is feeling the full range of human emotion and not being controlled by any of it. Feeling deeply while thinking clearly. Acknowledging the pain while still moving forward. This does not mean you wallow. Acceptance is not indulgence. You are not feeding the emotion or dramatizing it. You are acknowledging it exists, allowing it space, and then choosing your action regardless of the emotion. The emotion is the weather. You are not the weather. You are the person experiencing the weather, and you can move forward through any weather. Start practicing acceptance today. Next time you feel a difficult emotion, do not run from it. Do not try to immediately fix it or escape it. Pause. Acknowledge it. I am feeling anger right now. It is intense. I acknowledge it. It is okay to feel this. Breathe. Locate it in your body. Give it permission to be there. You will notice something remarkable. When you stop fighting the emotion, when you stop making it wrong, the emotion begins to shift. Not always immediately, but eventually. Because you have stopped trapping it with resistance. You have allowed it to move through you naturally. Acceptance is strength. Acceptance is courage. Acceptance is the foundation of emotional mastery. You cannot master what you cannot accept. Accept your emotions. And in that acceptance find your freedom. Shiptiarnen pragibramang, yo uimotio patiarns. You are not stuck with the emotional patterns you have now. Your brain is neuroplastic. It can change. It can rewire. It can learn new patterns. But this requires deliberate practice. It requires repetition. It requires consistency. You cannot read about emotional mastery and expect to be transformed. You have to practice it daily. Your current emotional patterns were created through repetition. Every time you reacted with anger, you strengthened the anger pathway in your brain. Every time you responded to stress with anxiety, you deepened the anxiety groove. Every time you shut down instead of communicating, you reinforced the shutdown pattern. These patterns are neural highways now. They are your brain's default response. But here is the good news. You can build new highways. You can create new patterns. You can teach your brain a different way. It takes time. It takes effort. But it is possible, and it is worth it. Reprogramming starts with awareness. You have to catch the old pattern before it fully executes. This is where everything you have learned so far comes together. The 3-second rule. The stop method. Recognizing triggers. You use these tools to interrupt the automatic pattern. Every time you successfully interrupt an old pattern, you weaken it slightly. And every time you choose a new response, you strengthen the new pattern slightly. This is how change happens. Not overnight, not dramatically, but incrementally, through consistent practice. Think of it like this. You have been walking the same path through the forest for years. That path is clear. It is easy. Your feet know where to go. But you decide you want to walk a different path. At first, that new path does not exist. You have to push through brush. You have to watch every step. It is hard. It is slow. You keep wanting to go back to the old familiar path. But if you walk the new path every day, something happens. The brush gets pushed down. The path becomes clearer. It gets easier. And the old path, the one you are not using anymore, starts to grow over. It gets harder to find. Eventually, the new path becomes the easy path, the default, the neural highway. This is exactly how neural reprogramming works. Every time you choose the new response, instead of the old reaction, you are clearing the new path and letting the old path grow over. But you have to be consistent. You have to keep choosing the new path, even when it is hard. Let me give you a specific example. Maybe your pattern is defensive anger when criticized. Someone gives you feedback and your instant reaction is to defend, to explain, to justify, maybe even to counterattack. This is your neural highway. It is automatic. It has been your response for years, maybe decades. To reprogram this, you have to interrupt the pattern and insert a new response. The next time someone criticizes you, use the 3-second rule. Stop, breathe. Then choose a different response. Thank you for the feedback. Let me think about that. Or, I appreciate you sharing that with me. Can you give me an example so I understand better? The first time you do this, it will feel completely unnatural. Everything in you will be screaming to defend yourself. Your emotional brain will be furious that you are not fighting back. But you do it anyway. You choose the new response. You take one step on the new path. You will probably mess up. You will probably revert to the old pattern many times. That is okay. That is normal. The old highway is still there. Your brain still wants to use it. But every time you choose the new response, you are weakening the old pattern and strengthening the new one. After doing this 10 times, it gets slightly easier. After 50 times, you start to see progress. After 100 times, the new response starts to feel more natural. After 1,000 times, the new response is automatic. You have built a new neural highway. This applies to any emotional pattern you want to change. Anxiety spirals, emotional shutdown, people-pleasing, catastrophizing, rumination. Whatever your pattern is, you can change it. But you have to interrupt it every single time and choose differently. Consistently. Here is a practice that accelerates reprogramming, mental rehearsal. You do not have to wait for triggering situations to practice. You can practice in your mind. Visualize a situation that usually triggers your old pattern. Walk through it in your mind. But this time, you use your new response. You see yourself pausing, using stop, responding from wisdom instead of reacting from emotion. Your brain does not fully distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real experiences. When you mentally rehearse the new pattern, you are still building the neural pathway. Athletes use this technique to improve performance. You can use it to reprogram emotional patterns. Spend 5 minutes every morning visualizing successful emotional regulation. See yourself facing a trigger. See yourself pausing. See yourself choosing the wise response. See yourself feeling proud of how you handled it. Do this daily. This is not wishful thinking. This is neural programming. Another key to reprogramming. Celebrate small wins. Every time you successfully interrupt an old pattern, acknowledge it. I did it. I paused instead of reacting. That is progress. Do not dismiss small victories. They are not small. They are evidence that your brain is changing. They are proof that the new pathway is being built. Most people expect instant transformation. When they still fall back into old patterns, they get discouraged. They think it is not working. They quit. Do not make this mistake. Change is happening even when you cannot see it. Every time you practice the new response, neurons are firing and wiring together. The pathway is being formed. Trust the process. Your emotional patterns do not define you. They are learned. And what is learned can be unlearned. What is wired can be rewired. You are not doomed to react the same way forever. You have the power to change, but you have to use that power consistently, daily, patiently. Start today. Pick one emotional pattern you want to change. Commit to interrupting it and choosing a new response for the next 30 days. Every single day, track it, notice progress, celebrate small wins, and watch as your brain transforms, as the old highway grows over, as the new path becomes clear. This is how you reprogram yourself. This is how you become someone different. Someone who feels emotions, but is not controlled by them. Someone who has mastered the most powerful force inside them. This is possible, but only if you do the work. Reprogram your patterns. Build new highways. Become who you were always meant to be. One choice at a time. One day at a time. One response at a time. CHTM. Imatioml mastry. You have learned how emotions hijack you. You have learned the 3-second rule. You understand your triggers. You know the STOP method. You can reframe your narratives. You have built emotional vocabulary. You have created boundaries. You practice acceptance. You are reprogramming your patterns. Now it is time to talk about what life looks like when you live from emotional mastery. Because this is not just about managing emotions in difficult moments. This is about transforming your entire relationship with your inner world. This is about becoming a fundamentally different kind of person. When you master your emotions, you stop being reactive. You become responsive. There is a massive difference. Reactive people are controlled by their immediate feelings. They are unstable, unpredictable, exhausting to be around. They create drama wherever they go because their uncontrolled emotions leak into everything. Responsive people feel emotions fully but choose their actions wisely. They are stable, reliable, calm in chaos. They are the people others turn to during crisis because they do not fall apart. They are the ones who move through difficulty with grace and strength. This is who you are becoming. Someone who can be in the middle of emotional intensity and still access wisdom. Someone who can feel fear and still act with courage. Someone who can be angry and still speak with respect. Someone who can be sad and still show up for responsibilities. someone who can be triggered and still choose peace. Living from emotional mastery means you stop being a victim of your feelings, saying things like, "I could not help it, I was so angry." Yes, you could. You were not actually controlled by anger. You chose not to control yourself. That is different. Mastery means taking full responsibility for your emotional responses. It means you stop blaming others for how you feel. Nobody makes you feel anything. They might trigger something in you, but the emotion is yours. The response is yours. The choice is always yours. This level of responsibility is uncomfortable. It is easier to blame. But blame keeps you powerless. Responsibility gives you power. When you live from emotional mastery, your relationships transform. You stop creating unnecessary conflict. You stop saying things you regret. You stop pushing people away when they get close. You stop testing people to see if they will abandon you. You communicate clearly. You set boundaries kindly. You stay present even when things are difficult. Your career accelerates. You stop sabotaging yourself with emotional outbursts. You stop making impulsive decisions you later regret. You handle criticism professionally. You stay focused under pressure. You make strategic choices instead of emotional reactions. Leaders notice. Opportunities appear. Success follows emotional stability. Your health improves. Chronic emotional reactivity floods your body with stress hormones. It damages your immune system. It creates inflammation. It affects your sleep. It raises your blood pressure. Emotional mastery reduces all of this. Your body spends less time in stress mode. Your nervous system balances. You feel better physically because you are no longer at war with your emotions. Your confidence becomes unshakable. When you know you can handle any emotion, you stop being afraid of life. You take more risks. You try new things. You speak up. You go after what you want. Because you know that even if things go wrong, even if you fail, even if you get hurt, you can handle whatever you feel. This removes the fear that holds most people back. Living from mastery does not mean you never struggle. It does not mean emotions suddenly become easy or comfortable. It means you have the tools to navigate them. It means you trust yourself. It means you know that no emotion, no matter how intense, can destroy you or control you unless you let it. You will still feel deeply. In fact, you will probably feel more deeply than before. Because you are no longer running from emotions. You are no longer numbing them or avoiding them. You can let yourself feel because you are not afraid of feelings anymore. This is the paradox. Emotional mastery allows you to be more emotional, not less. Because you can afford to feel when you know you will not be controlled by the feeling. This is freedom. Real freedom. Not the absence of emotion. Not some Zen state where nothing bothers you. But the freedom to feel everything and still choose who you want to be. To cry and still be strong. To be afraid and still be brave. To be angry and still be kind. To be sad and still be functional. Your emotional mastery will inspire others. People will notice the change in you. They will ask how you stay so calm. How you handle stress so well. How you never seem to lose control. And you can share what you have learned. You can help others find their own path to mastery. This is how the work multiplies. This is how transformation spreads. But it starts with you. It starts with the decision to stop being controlled by emotions and start mastering them. It starts with practicing these tools every single day. Not when you feel like it. Not when it is convenient. Every day. In small moments and big moments. When you are triggered and when you are calm. This is not a destination. This is a practice. A lifelong practice. You will never be perfect at this. There will still be days when you get hijacked. When you react instead of respond. When you forget everything you know. That is human. The difference is you now have the awareness and the tools to course correct quickly. To learn from the mistake. To choose differently next time. Living from emotional mastery means waking up every day and recommitting to the practice. Asking yourself, who do I want to be today? How do I want to respond to whatever this day brings? What version of myself will I choose when I get triggered? And then following through. It means being honest with yourself. When you mess up, you acknowledge it. When you succeed, you celebrate it. When you struggle, you ask for help. When you grow, you recognize it. You stay connected to the journey. You stay committed to the process. This is the life you are building. A life where you are in control of yourself. Where your emotions serve you instead of sabotaging you. Where you feel deeply but think clearly. Where you are strong enough to be soft and soft enough to be strong. Where you master the most powerful force inside you and use that mastery to create the life you truly want. You have everything you need. You have the knowledge. You have the tools. You have the understanding. Now you just need the commitment. The decision that you are going to live this way. That you are going to practice this daily. That you are going to become someone who has mastered their emotions instead of being mastered by them. Make that decision now, not someday, not when it feels easier. Now, and then wake up tomorrow and make it again, and the day after that, and the day after that. This is how transformation happens. One choice at a time, one practice at a time, one response at a time. Master your emotions before they master you. Because on the other side of this mastery is everything you have ever wanted. Peace, power, purpose, presence, freedom. It is all there, waiting for you to claim it, waiting for you to step into it, waiting for you to become the person who lives from emotional mastery. You are ready. You have always been ready. Now go live it, practice it, embody it, become it. The person you were always meant to be is waiting. And they are powerful beyond measure. They are calm in chaos. They are wise in confusion. They are strong in difficulty. They are you. The master of your emotions. The master of your life. This is your path. Walk it with courage. With consistency. With commitment. And watch as everything transforms.